Wait for a few more people to come in. Once you come in, if you could, just go ahead and hit that like button for me. If you got any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll get to them as we go. Crazy, crazy game today, man. Crazy game. That didn't have to be that way. I see a few more people just came in. Hey guys, if you could just go ahead and hit that like button for me. Share this on social media. Let's have a good conversation here. This is I said this earlier on Twitter. This kind of reminds me going back to last week how a lot of people were, talking crazy about Johnny Wilson's performance, and we kind of knew what Johnny Wilson was at this point, and a lot of people were just talking real negatively. And then we see Johnny Wilson come out there today and have a game, 4 receptions, over 100 yards. And it was what's crazy is that was really overshadowed by just how the game went today. But I think that's probably in the same vein how we're going to look back at this particular game with Boston College. They should have been better prepared, I think. A lot of things going into this week, though. I mean, you got the storm out there. Are they going to play? They're going to move the game. What's the conditions going to be like? Boston College hasn't looked very good. Probably have a quarterback on Boston College's team who has a little extra motivation, considering that FSU didn't want him as a quarterback, wanted him as a running back or athlete. And so, it's this opportunity to show those coaches like, hey, I told you I could play. And I don't know, man. They just came out. I think the defense coming out the way they did just set the tone for the whole back. Seems he's not going to full speed, stopping in a hole, not really breaking tackles regularly. Scott, I wrote about that in my 3 main takeaways from the game. I said I need to see more of Rodney Hill and less Trey Benson right now. You're absolutely right. Benson is running tentatively. He's tiptoeing. And the crazy thing is, as big as Benson is, I get so frustrated with him because he'll run into the back of the offensive lineman, and he won't even fall forward. He'll just fall like sideways or get knocked backwards. I'm like, bro, you're 220. Why are you not even at least falling forward for 2 or 3 yards? But then when we saw, Rodney Hill get in there, I mean, he's out there delivering I think he got 4 or 5 carries and had 4 yards. I mean, and this isn't like a one-off like with Johnny Wilson last week. This is Trey Benson has really run well through 3 games. I mean, yeah, he scored 3 touchdowns against Southern Miss, but I mean, it's Southern Miss, and even still, there were runs in that game where he wasn't really beasting guys the way you would think he would. So, yeah. T. Murray says hoes were there. He tap dances like Gergie Hines. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. There's some runs where he looks like, okay, well, that looks good. And then there's 90 other percent of the time, and I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, why? I don't know, man. They just haven't been able to run the ball as well as I thought they would be able to run it thus far. But let me go back to the defense. So the first drive, obviously, they get 2 huge pass plays, and the guys are just wide the hell open. And I haven't had a chance to go back and watch the game, so I'm not exactly sure why they were open. I don't know if it was miscommunication. Who knows? A guy might have fell down or something. I don't know yet, so I haven't had a chance to look at it. And but that's just not acceptable. I know on the first pass play, a guy came up and missed the quarterback sack. He just missed a tackle. I mean, he was right there. All he had to do was tackle him, and it would have been a sack for a loss. And then he misses the tackle, and then you see the guy running across the middle, and he hits him for a big gain. So number one, you're missing a tackle. How many of those did we see today? Just missed tackles. How many times did we see today that FSU defenders couldn't get a guy stopped like on like boom? Well, we saw a couple, but there was more than a few times that I saw Boston College backs or wide receivers like toting FSU guys like 3 or 4 yards, right? I mean, I'm not putting that on strength and conditioning. I know these guys are strong or whatever, but it's that's more like want to, right? It's like, hey, do you want to play today or not? And clearly, Boston College was motivated. Obviously, it's the red bandana game, so you got all that. That's a great story. I'm not trying to dismiss that. I'm glad that they're able to honor Rush Crowler, but I don't know. It just feels like those guys didn't lock in early on, and then they give up a touchdown on the first drive. The offense comes out, and they just look kind of like they're going through the motions a little bit. Wind up settling for a field goal, and then Boston College, they go right down the field. And I'm gonna look at this. I'm gonna look at this second drive here. The second drive is what concerned me a little bit. So the second drive that Boston College had in the game took 7 minutes and 37 seconds. 7 minutes, 16 plays. And I'm going down right here. So it's 3rd and 8 on Boston College 27. And they get 7 yards. And this is a key play, and credit to Jeff Hafley, because it's 4th and 1 on BC's 34. He easily could have punted that ball. But they went for it and got it. They needed 1 yard, they got 2. And then here we go again. 3rd and 8 at the Boston College 38. Thomas Castellanos runs for 29 yards to the FSU 33. And here we go. 2nd and 15 at the FSU 20. No gain. So it's 3rd and 15. Thomas Castellanos runs for 14 yards. It's 4th and 1. And they get it. So it's 1st and goal at the FSU 4. And FSU defense holds them to a field goal. So you're like, okay, well, they're settling down, I guess. Held them to a field goal. FSU offense goes out there, scores a touchdown. 6 plays, 75 yards, 10-10. And then the defense finally forces a punt. FSU scores a touchdown, 17-10. Defense forces another punt to give the offense the ball, with about a minute to go and a half. And I just did not like that series. It was a pass incomplete to Johnny Wilson, incomplete pass to Keon Coleman, and then we run it for 8 yards, and then we wind up punting. And then we go into the half. So it's 17-10 at half. And you're like, okay, we get the ball back. If we go out there and score first, then, it's probably going to be game. Scott Duran says, any truth to the flu rumors? Seems like every time a team or player struggles, it's an injury or flu, but it is true. It explains sluggishness. I know that was the case last week. I know report came out that Jordan Travis and Johnny Wilson were sick. So it's one of those things where the flu obviously can go through a locker room. So it's not out of the question. I mean, that's possible. I mean, the defensive line did look, they did look like they were kind of lethargic a little bit. I was surprised that Boston College was able to win on some. And I mean, it is 4th-and-1, 4th-and-2, so all you got to do is get 1 yard. But I was kind of surprised that Boston College was able to convert 4 of 5 fourth downs. So that is certainly a possibility. My daughter right now, shouldn't have the flu, but she's under the weather. My wife's been under the weather, so It's that time of year, when it's 90 degrees in the afternoon, and then the temperature drops in the evening. And it gets cool. Well, here in North Carolina it is, and so usually that change in that transition in seasons is a prime opportunity for common colds, flu, things like that. So that is certainly a possibility, but at the same time, we're not here to give excuses. We're not here to give excuses. So we'll see. All I know is they gotta tighten the ship before next week against Clemson. So going back to it, so it's halftime, 17-10. The defense is kind of buckled down, and forced 3 punts in a row. Offense comes out, goes 74 yards on 6 plays, and I remember typing on social media on Twitter. I was like, man, that was easy, right? So that puts FSU up 2 scores, 24-10. And then on Boston College's first possession, they throw an interception, which is a great, crazy interception by DJ Lundy. And 2 plays later, they score a touchdown on a fullback dive by Lundy, which the play before that with the Jaheim Bell, I think he got into the end zone. It's crazy that they don't have accurate camera angles, to be able to tell if he got in or not. I understand why they didn't overturn the call, but at the same time, like, bro, that was a touchdown. So look, it's 31-10, 31-10 with what? Basically 11 minutes or so to go in the third quarter. You like 31-10. Yeah, let's go ahead and get these boys on out of here. And go ahead and get the backups in here in a little bit. And so you're feeling pretty good about it. You got a sluggish start. It's Boston College on the road, red bandana game. Let's go ahead and get them on out of here, though. So, but here we go. So the Boston College offense goes out there, and again, now look, you got to give some credit to Boston College here, to Jeff Hafley, who I think he's been overrated the whole time, but he did this thing in this game here, because it's 3rd and 3 at the Boston College 27. They run for 2 yards. It's 4th and 1 at the BC 29. So this is the second time that Boston College chooses to go for it, and then they get it deep on their side of the field. Whereas most of the time, 90% of the time, probably 99% of the time, a team's going to punt it right here. But he's playing to win. He's going back to Mike Norvell back in 2020, 2021. He's like, hey, we don't have anything to lose. We're 25-point underdogs. So they get the first down, right? Then here we go. Again, it's Boston College, which I said this in my video before. I was like, I said they're heavily penalized. They had, was it 20 penalties in 2 games or something like that, and they had 18 in the game today, which was crazy. So false start, no run for no game on first down. So it's 2nd and 15, and then they lose 2 yards. 3rd and 17 at the Boston College 24. What happens? Castellanos throws a pass for 52 yards. There was 6 third downs. So they were 8 of 19, I think it was. 6 of those 8 third downs were like 3rd and long. They were 4 of 5 on 4th down. And so on those 4th down conversions, what it was, they were able to, get it to a manageable distance on 4th down, even when it was 3rd and long. So if it's 3rd and 15 and they get 14 yards, then it's 4th and 1, they were going for it and they were getting those. So it's 3rd and 17. Castellanos throws a pass for 52 yards. And then, they wind up scoring on the play. So that's 31-16 because they missed the extra point. Then, of course, the FSU offense goes right up there and turns the ball over. Fumble, they scoop and score. Then we got a game, 31-22. They missed the failed 2-point conversion. So It's 31-22 with what? What we got here? 11:18 to go in the fourth. FSU offense. Pass, pass, run, offensive penalty. This is big too because it was 4th and 1 at the BC 29. And you know, I think they were going to go for it, but then they well, no. I'm sorry. Excuse me. They wound up punting this ball. So Alex Mastromano does a great job of punting the ball out of bounds, and it's at the BC 5. And then Boston College proceeds to go 9 plays for 95 yards. Let's look at this. 3rd and 10 from the BC 5. Thomas Castellanos runs for 13 yards. Now, I'm not sure if it was this one. I know there, and I think it's this one, but I know for sure there was a play, but I think this may have been earlier in the game. There was earlier in the game where it was 3rd and long, and Boston College was on their basically near their goal line. And I remember watching the replay, and Omar Graham basically overruns his gap. And that's the gap that Castellanos runs through for a first down. And if they get off the field there, I mean, FSU's probably getting the ball at midfield and probably scoring. But that was what we saw today. We saw a lot of Omar Graham out there. Kevin Knowles, he got abused out there. And man, it's just 3rd and 10. Castellanos throws a pass for 8 yards. 4th and 2. Castellanos runs it in for a touchdown. And I will have to, and so here you go. Okay, so it's 31-29. FSU offense. And so FSU has an opportunity, the offense has an opportunity to go down and score, put the game away, but they can't do anything. They have to wind up punting the ball. And so I know a lot of people were blaming the defense, and rightfully so. It was trash a lot of the day. But at the same time, FSU didn't score anymore after scoring really quick there after that interception by DJ Lundy. Bruh, what are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, before the season, everybody's talking about the offense is elite and everything. And I tweeted it today. I said, if the offense is elite as we say it is, they should go down and score right here, or at least, get some first downs and take some time off the clock or whatever. But here we that possession lasted like 30 seconds, and then the defense is right back on the field. And the defense came up big here at the end, man. I mean, they forced Boston College, to punt twice there at the end, and gave the ball back to the offense. And then the crazy part is, at the end of the game, the offense was getting ready to have to punt the ball back to Boston College because they couldn't get a first down. The only thing that saved them was a face mask penalty. That was it. They were going to get the ball back because the offense couldn't do anything. So, yeah, the defense was terrible early on, but when you look at it, the defense only gave up 22 points because one of those was a defensive touchdown by Boston College. Here's my concern. The defense has been more consistent through 3 games than the offense. So here's my takeaway from the Boston College game on defense, right? You kind of had I don't want to say a perfect storm, because look, there's a lot of fault to go around. Adam Fuller you got to clean this up. You got to clean this up, right? But here's the thing. What you want to do as a defense is, where do you want to be? You want to be in 3rd and long. Those are the situations you want to be in as a defense, right? That's where you want to be. That's where they were the majority of the game. That's where they were. So the problems, and so also going into the game. So this hasn't been a problem. This season. I know a lot of people are talking about 3rd and full. Guys, FSU was only allowing 30% third down conversions through the first 2 games. 30%. So it's not something that's been happening in every game. Now, today you had a combination of you had a mobile quarterback, which is always tough to defend. You had guys not doing their jobs. I said it in my 5 things to look for video. I said whenever Castellano scrambles, you're gonna have to make sure that the defensive ends don't overrun themselves, right? Overrun the play and open up those lanes that he can run through. Not only did he do that, Patrick Payton was guilty at least once or twice. He overran the play and Castellano shot through that little gap. There's some times where Castellanos just ran up the middle, and of course, he's shifty, so it's tough to tackle. So he made some guys miss also. So you know, the thing to remember though is there's you're not going to face that many quarterbacks that are that shifty. I mean, you placed Jaden Daniels and you faced this kid. Now look, credit to Castellanos. I said in that video that I did before the game, some people probably laughed, but when I watched the little bit of film I saw of him, I thought of Russell Wilson. They're about the same size. They kind of had the same game. And I think that kid is legit, man. He's got a lot of confidence. So, I think some of it has to go credit to him. I think the Boston College offensive line may have been a little bit better than what we thought. And then, the other part of it is just lack of communication on the back end, And again, I haven't had a chance to go back and look at it, but it just baffled me how there were times in the game where Boston College could do absolutely nothing. I mean, they didn't do anything for a large period of time, and then it was like once something went awry, it was almost like if she reverted back to kind of how when bad things would happen back in the day, and then it would just snowball. It felt like Boston College got the momentum, and then it was like, man, they can't do anything out there. And then the offense can never really answer after the after that second time they scored in the third quarter. And it felt like the defense was just on their heels the whole time because the offense couldn't do anything. Not only that, the offense allowed them to score a touchdown with the fumble. So let me check my comments here. T. Murray says too many deep passes got slapped. I agree. Those 50-50 balls are not yeah, they're 50-50 balls now because I can't tell you how many times that guys have had contested catch passes and not come down with the ball. There was also a pass that Keon Coleman had, which he should have caught. I felt. I don't know. Looking at the replay, I thought the ball wasn't bad at all. It was out. It was kind of out in front of him. If he caught it, he could have kept running for a touchdown. So yeah, I feel like they're too pass happy. But then at the same time, it's almost like, well, maybe Norville knows like, Benson hadn't been running that hard, so maybe we kind of have to pass. But then I'm like, well, if that's the case, why don't you put Rodney Hill in there, bro? Like, I don't know, man. The offense has been in second and long and third and long way too many times in the first 3 games. And that's something I mentioned earlier this year. I was like, now that's one reason they can be elite is because they can overcome those down and distances. But at the same time, the percentages say if you're in those situations enough, they're going to come back to bite you. And so that's kind of what was happening here. They were in third and 7, 3rd and 10, whatever, and just didn't come down. Just didn't come down with the plays. There were a lot of times that Jordan Travis took a contested player like Johnny Wilson or whoever instead of hitting Toa Philly down in the flats. That one play that was 3rd down that he threw to Johnny Wilson really late in the game, Toa Philly was wide open. He could have ran for 15 yards. And I'm like, why are we forcing the pass? And we forced the pass last week against Southern Miss. I mean, Jordan Travis was 15 of 29. Again, some of those were drops, but at the same time, that's still a pretty low completion percentage. Today, he was 15 to 20. So I'm like, why are we so pass happy whenever we're supposed to be a run first offense? Let's see what the comments is. Island Boy says, I've come to the realization that we're going to have games like this no matter what. Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, all teams, Georgia was struggling today. Wake Forest was losing to dang Old Dominion today. Not that Wake Forest is good, but yeah, I mean, you're going to have them, but at the same time, I've always had the thought that elite teams have the ability to, I mean, we did see that with the 2013 team, and it just happened to be, against Boston College at Boston College. So maybe it's just that. But I've always thought that just, if you're an elite team, you shouldn't have letdowns like that. Let's see what else we got here. Jeff Hill, hey man, I appreciate you guys checking in with me too, man. If you can, like the video for me. I got 3 likes right now, and I got more than 3 people in here. Jeff Hill says, "Don't think as bad as we play. You're not going to see the same performance against Clemson." I think yep. I agree, man. I agree. We've seen what this team can do. And we can see how bad they play, so just like, and it's funny that fans will do this, right? So whenever we played, we were lights out against LSU in the second half, then it's like you're on cloud 9, we're elite, we can beat anybody, we're gonna do this to everybody. And it's funny, then whenever the reverse happens, we suck, Clemson's gonna blow us out next week. So it's funny to just see how fans just that emotional roller coaster is like, look, guys, it's never, obviously, if we had lost the game, that would have been concerning. But the fact that they were able to hold on and get the win, that was a positive. But again, I think, it's a combination of things. It's combination of, like I said, you don't, emotionally, are you going to play? How this game going to play out? It's on the road, just your first true road game. You're missing some starters. I mean, we kind of knew that was going to be the case, so I don't want to put too much into that. Like I said, you're playing against a mobile quarterback who you don't have much film on either, so you got to take that in consideration. I think my biggest things though is just offensively, man. Offensively, they got to get into guys got to learn their roles or something. Like, I don't know, like either we're going to roll with Benson or we're going to go with Hill. I mean, even Toy Philly is getting carries, and we think most of him as a slot receiver. So, another play too, going back to the swings in the game, Trey Benson, bro, you gotta come up with that ball. Just get on it, lay on it. I mean, that's another instance where the defense, they had just been on the field for a 12-play 80-yard drive. Then they got to go right back out there. So, I know we're poo-pooing the defense. And again, they had a comedy of errors, but man, they didn't have a lot of help either in a lot of situations. So T. Mary says, time for Holmes. Yeah, I thought we were going to see him today, man. In going back to what Scott was talking about earlier with flu going around, the fact that he wasn't there or didn't play. I don't know if he was on the side. Maybe that there is some truth to guys being sick and not being available, so to speak. So yeah. But hopefully we got that, all of that out of our system. Obviously, I think this game is probably going to be a blessing in disguise. You may say, well, why is that? Well, it's probably going to go back to like we were before the season, right? So before the season against LSU, everybody thought, Florida State was overrated. They didn't beat anybody that was ranked last year. They barely beat Oklahoma in the bowl game. Blah, 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 blah. Then they come out there, they kind of got a chip on their shoulder. They're the underdog by odds makers, even though it's a neutral game in Florida. And, they come out there and, play pretty well and put it to a good LSU team who was throttling Mississippi State the last time I looked today. And so, then you go against Southern Miss last week and you do what you do. And I think, I was in that ballpark also. It's like, hey, FSU is going to go up there, take care of business. We're talking about putting the backups in, in the third quarter, just like we did last week, and which we were well on our way to doing. Let me go ahead and put that out there though. We were one stop away, and one stop or one score away from hey, this game's over. And that fumble for a touchdown really, that fumble recovery for a touchdown really turned that game. But that's the margins, right? That's the margins. And so that's why, in my season prediction video where I was talking about can FSU win a natty this year, and I was talking about whenever you're playing an elite team, how small those margins of error are. That's what I'm talking about. You can't have things like today come into play. A turnover, score for a touchdown, a mishap on special teams like that. Whenever you're against elite opponents, you can't allow those things to happen. So that's why I think this is going to be a blessing in disguise, because expectations are going to be lowered. If we had went out there and rolled Boston College today, the expectation was, we're going to go up to Clemson, we're going to roll Clemson, especially with how Clemson looked against Duke. But now I think, even our fan base is going to have some doubt, right? Man, I don't know. We looked like crap last week. We haven't beaten Clemson and Clemson, since 2013 or whatever. And so I think, that's kind of going to recalibrate things, kind of bring things back into perspective for these guys. It's going to give Mike Norvell an opportunity to put the film on and say, hey, look, bro, you got to be better. You got to be better. You got to be better. Because if they had played like crap, like they did to begin the game, and then they wound up just blowing Boston College away like they were, on their way to doing, even though they didn't play well in the first half. That's going to start being the expectation. We can just play however we want to, and guys are going to lay down, and we'll just get the win. But I think today, the way Boston College kept coming, and they forced FSU to fight to get that win, I think that's going to help refocus this team going into the Clemson game next week, which is a huge game. I expected FSU to beat Clemson before the season. I expect to win next week. Nothing has changed for me, unless somebody like Jordan Travis missing the game or something like that. Which was that was a scary sight today to see him go down. I know he's a warrior, but I tweeted this. I was like, I know he's a warrior and a competitor, but man, you got to be smarter than that with his injury history. Glad to see him tough it out, and looks like he'll be fine. I think that was a crazy play though, man. It felt like last year. Matter of fact, wasn't that the third game of the year last year against Louisville when he got hurt and missed the second half, and Tate Rodemaker had to come in? Whew, man, that was crazy, man. Which is crazy to think about now too. Like if Jordan doesn't play in the second half, do we win that game? That's the question, man. That's the question. Whew, man. Well, I'm glad that's something that we don't have to worry about. So yeah. So hopefully we'll get some guys back next week. Robert Scott and Maurice Smith. And I don't know with Akeem Dent, man. I don't know. I mean, hopefully he'll have a quick recovery. I know with a hamstring, I tore my hamstring a couple of years ago running sprints. I don't know what grade it was. I didn't go to the doctor, but I had bruising on the back of my leg, pretty good. So it was at least a grade 1 for sure. It took me. I mean, I'm way older though. At the time I was like 41, 42. It took me a good 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so before I could like jog without any issues. But we're talking about going out there and playing a football game. So, if you can't play against Clemson, hopefully, that bye week after that will allow him to heal up, and he can, he'll be available after that. So yeah, man, that's kind of my thoughts on the game though, man. What else you guys got? You guys got any questions? I just feel like it's, we just got to be better. We got to be better on offense overall. I mean, we haven't run the ball as well as I thought we would run it, and I feel like we're just dependent upon. I mean, it is an offense built for playmakers. We know that, but it's like we're dependent on those guys to win too many one-on-one matchups, right? Just like you know how Boston College was hitting guys wide open. Like, how many guys did we hit wide open today? Like everybody we're throwing to, it feels like it was contested. Scott says, "Why did Kevin Owens look so lost today?" Man, I don't know. The crazy thing is with Kevin Knowles, the coaches, every time you hear them talk about him, Adam Fuller, Mike Novell, they're like, oh, he's a coach out there in the field. He's been helping the young guys and blah 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 blah. But I'm like, damn, I hope he ain't coaching. I hope he ain't teaching the young guys what he's doing out there. I mean, he's missing tackles. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I got to go back and watch the game. I started not to do this. I started not to do this stream before I rewatched the game, but I wasn't sure what my timeline would be like tomorrow. Tomorrow's my birthday, so I know I'll be out and about with the fam tomorrow. So I was like, man, let me go ahead and try to get this done today before the news cycle finished or whatnot. Jamal Phelps said, any news of Jaheim's injury? I haven't heard anything. I haven't even watched all the press conferences yet. So I don't know if Mike Novell or anyone mentioned that or whatnot. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate the happy birthday wishes. Thomas had a great game. Yeah, he did. He did. He tackled well. He, I know he defended a few passes. Yeah, he looked really good out there. Island Boy says, Jordan, Travis, JT needs to take off running sometimes. If the opportunity is there, take it. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. There were times in the LSU game where he could have done that. And it's one of those things where it's almost like he's still trying to prove that he's a passer. He can pass the ball. But I'm like, man, there's 12 yards of open grass or turf in front of you. Just take it instead of trying to, hit a guy downfield. I mean, I know we wanted the big play or whatever, but if the yards are there, just take it. Don't do like you did today and try to, go back to 2020 and dodge, 7 defenders when you could have just went out of bounds, even though you're probably not going to get the first down anyway, and then get hurt. So man, that's like, what the world. But yeah, he definitely needs to take advantage of the opportunities to run and get down. That's something he did really well last year. He knew he needed to protect himself, so he would do that. He would get the yards and go down. So hopefully that's something we'll see next week if he's healthy. Scott says, why in the world was yeah, I have no idea why Rodemaker was on the hands team. I mean, I know he's an athlete. I mean, he's a really good athlete, really, really good athlete. But I would think you could get someone else out there. I mean, it didn't really have a bearing on that or whatever. But yeah, that's a great question too. What's up? I'm trying to see this. ADANGBE. Yo, appreciate you checking in. DJ had an outstanding game. I was hoping Coach take Travis and Casey about the game, keeping it healthy. Yeah, I was hoping so too, man. I was hoping to. I saw DJ Lundy broke the rock. I know some people say, "Hey, man, just lay the red man down on the rock and let it be." Oh, hey, I wouldn't complain if they did that, man. But yeah, Lundy did have a good game. I mean, that's huge. Think about it. That interception led to a touchdown, which was a difference maker in the game. So credit to DJ Lundy, man. Yeah. Hey, if you haven't liked this video, man, do me a favor and like it. We're at 7. Give me the 10. Give me the 10. Yeah, DJ Lundy, man, has really improved himself. And that's gonna be good for next year, because you're gonna lose Bethune, you're gonna lose Deloach, and so you'll have Lundy there with a ton of experience who looks like he can be a pretty good linebacker for you. So that's promising for the future moving forward. But yeah, it did kind of suck that FSU wasn't able to get any of the young guys out there really. I mean, that was an opportunity wasted. That they had a grand opportunity to go up one more score, and it could have been a rocking chair game, and they weren't able to do it. So, well, they'll have more opportunities throughout the year. Against the Virginia, all the other teams on the schedule that they should roll. to help those guys get some reps. Jamal says, I like the blitz call from Fuller. He had a couple of good ones. That one off the edge with Ronaldo Green was huge. I mean, obviously, that was a big play in the game to force Boston College to, I think that was third down. Can't remember. It was either second or third down, but that forced, that was a big play. It was a loss, a huge loss for Boston College. So, but then too, there's a lot of, not particularly in this game, I'll say, but there was a lot of times where the blitzes seem slow to develop. Like I'm like, why is that guy just now blitzing? And it could be they're doing like green dog or something where, just making sure a guy doesn't leak out for a pass and then go or whatever. But I don't know. And then sometimes, like, I don't know. It just, some of the blitzes take too long to develop, for my opinion. So I don't know. That was a good one though, for sure. Scott says, why do you think Norvell's obsession with horizontal passes to the sideline? It rarely works. Listen, go to the short side of the field of that, and where you have literally zero margin for error. So if your blocks aren't set up, I mean, you're not going to do anything because you have that sidelines like an extra defender, right? So it's like, why are we throwing passes to the short side of the field? I hated that with Kendall Browse, and we saw that today. Even running to the short side of the field too. I don't know why we do that a lot. I don't know, man. I don't know. And part of me is like, maybe they're like, they're trying to like, practice some things, or just not like open everything up before the Clemson game. Maybe I don't know, man. I don't know, because we haven't really seen just a crisp offense like we normally see. But part of it could be that they just haven't been able to run the ball the way Mike Norvell teams usually run the ball. So I don't know, man. I don't know. That I think next week's game will tell us a lot. Obviously, Clemson's got a good defense, and so obviously you're not going to be out there treating. I don't really think they treated today like a scrimmage. I know last week they did, but next week, obviously, I mean, you're gonna have to put your cards on the table, and you're gonna have to execute. So I think next week will give us kind of like LSU was. I mean, they didn't really get cute out there. They went out there and they were running a real offense. They got pass happy in the first half against LSU, but then they got back to the run game in the second half. I'm more interested in next week now than I would have been if we'd have blown Boston College out. I'll say that. I am so curious to see, because I don't know, have we, other than, obviously we saw the real FSU against LSU, but the last two games, it's like, I don't know, man. It's like it's like we've been playing with our food a lot, or so to speak. Kind of just like, it's 3rd and 10. I'll just throw it to Johnny Wilson, and I'll throw it to Keon Coleman, and they'll make a play, and they'll get us out of this jam, so to speak, instead of like, setting things up and like Norvell normally does. Run the ball really well, force teams to bring a defender in the box, and then hit somebody wide open, up the seam or on a post route or something. We just haven't really seen that. So I think maybe that's something that we could see next week against Clemson. Let's see. Jamal says this secondary is the best in the conference, but I was disappointed in the safeties. The corners are really good. Renardo's been solid. Fentrell's been solid. One thing I will say though, this is something that's happened. This has been happening for a few years. This even back to Willie and Jimbo. I hate how, like, if a FSU defender, notably usually a defensive back, like if you see a guy that breaks open in the open field, right? Instead of running to cut him off, they'll run like this. I'm like, bro, what? Why are you giving him an extra 10 yards? Like, just go make the tackle. The sideline is there, unless he's afraid he's gonna miss the tackle. But I'm like, what angles are we taking? Instead of running with a guy and making a tackle, like, cut him off here. Like, what are we doing? That's always irked me. But the safety's got to get right, man. Safety's got to get right. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see. Next week will tell us a lot because Clemson come with it. Yeah, Clemson gonna come with it, man. I haven't even watched the game. Let me check. Let me see what the score of the game of Clemson and FSU is right now. FAU, I should say. Ooh, Florida's putting a thing on Tennessee, 26-10. And I don't even see. Let me check the score real quick. Hold on, bear with me, guys. Let's see this Clemson score really quick. But if you got any other questions, man, shoot them my way. I ain't got no time. Syracuse is beating Purdue. Okay. Ooh, Clemson's beating FAU 27-0 with 7:24 to go in the second quarter, and it's 3rd and goal, and they're getting ready to score again. Klubnik has thrown for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's 12 of 15, averaging 9.5 yards per pass. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna see what's what next week. Got to work on pursuit drill angle. Yeah, man, those angles are trash. RJ Orner, saw your tweet about Knowles too. Seems like he's been out of position, missed tackles, leading to big gains at critical times for the opponents. Yep, absolutely. T. Mary says things getting chippy and pro to pregame. Yeah, I'm sure. They're trying to run to meet where the project the guy's going to be, so don't miss the tackle. Yep, that's probably it. But I mean, that's usually the sideline. I can see if they're in the middle of the field. That makes sense. But I mean, if a guy's running wide open, his ability to stop and cut on a dime on those type of angles is almost impossible without tearing something. So, I mean, you got to, as a defender, you kind of got to understand that and know that, as long as you go and you tackle, you tackle well, you're gonna make the tackle. Joe Milton is reincarnated Xavier Lee. Fastballs every pitch. Man, Clemson's winning to make that passes, but they still like juice. Jamal, hopefully we'll have a boulder on our shoulders considering the performance. Yeah, I hope so, man. Hey, if you guys are in here and you haven't liked this video, like it for me, man. Like it for me. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. We have grown this thing way faster than I ever thought possible. We're over 1,000 subscribers now. But definitely appreciate all the support you guys are giving. I'm trying to get more on a consistent schedule of posting. So if you have any times that would work for your schedule that that you would be open to live streams or just have time to watch videos or whatnot, you can email me, post them in the comment section or what have you. I always like doing these. But yeah, man, so we'll see. Clemson looks like they're rounding in the form, but it's FAU, so take that with a grain of salt. Next week, look, Clemson does not have the receivers that I don't think they have the receivers that LSU has. They got Will Shipley, who I'm sure they'll use a lot of, they'll use him as a jack of all trades type of dude. They'll probably try to hit him with some passes out of flats and out of the backfield, and they'll try to run the ball traditionally too. Klubnik isn't really a big threat to run, or at least not like Castellanos was today. So usually whenever FSU plays a quarterback that's going to be in the pocket, for the most part, they do pretty well. I mean, you saw that last week against Southern Miss. So that's one thing too that I'm kind of like banking on against teams like Clemson and Miami. If you got a quarterback with that's a statue back there, usually you can get to him. But whenever you have the threat of a quarterback, having the ability to scramble, that changes things so much because you can't just take off and run. So you got to worry about that. Then if you're playing man to man, you got your back to him, so that there's so many factors with a mobile quarterback. So that's one reason why I feel pretty confident about next week. But really, it still goes back to the offense. If the offense doesn't show up, I said that in the preseason. Everybody talking about this on the defense. It's not. It's on the offense. If the offense goes out there and scores the way they're capable of, I still feel the defense is good enough to get it done. I know I'm probably in the minority with that, but I know they put themselves in positions to be successful today. They had third and long a gazillion times. They just didn't get them off the field. But knowing, so that's part of the process, right? We can't be, it's a results oriented business, but you have to look at the process. Are you getting them in the positions you want them? Yes. Okay. Now, why were you not able to get them off the field? Was it busted coverages? Was it miscommunication that resulted in busted coverages? Was it missed tackles on a couple? Was it, not setting the edge? So when you can go back and look at the film, you can say, oh, well, we can fix that. We can fix that, or the guy might have just made a great play in a couple of times, which he did. So again, like I said, you got to give credit to Castellanos there too. But offensively, I need to see those guys. Lock in, man. They gotta be able to run the ball. But that running the ball is everything on Norvell's offense. If they can run the ball, that sets everything up. As far as creating those one-on-one matchups. If a defense doesn't have to worry about the running game, then they can drop guys in coverage and do all sorts of things. So yeah. Let's see. I question Clemson's depth of running back, wide receiver, and DBs. Yeah, they definitely don't have anybody other than Shipley. That Maffa guy, he's not any good. He's average. He's a jag, just another guy. DBs, yeah, they're kind of suspect too. Can we agree their uniform combo today was big trash? Scott says, it wasn't my favorite. It was, I'm not a big uniform guy. I really don't care. I'm not one of those that kind of puts a lot of energy into that. I'm not a fan of the black uniforms. I've never liked those, but I don't know. I know some people don't like the white helmets or whatever, but if the kids like them, if recruits like them, that's really all that matters to me. For the most part, I just want to get a dub, man. I just want to get a dub, and that's what they did today. So look, that's a positive, I guess you could say. Although Boston College probably gave it to them more than taking it from them there at the end. But I will say the defense, when the chips are on the table, the defense stood up and forced Boston College to punt there at the end of the game a couple of times. And so I know the defense is getting a lot of heat, but again, they did their job at the end. Only gave up 22 points. Whenever it was time for the offense to come up there and put the game away, with a first down or with a score, they couldn't. And so that's one of my biggest takeaways, man, is everybody's blaming the defense, whatever. And again, I get it, but they weren't great today. But at the same time, you got to give the same energy to the offense. The offense isn't 31 points and then not scoring for the last 20 some minutes. That's not gonna cut it, man. Against a Boston College defense is probably not very good. Probably not very good. T. Mary says, I need Fuller to start attacking QBs. Can't depend on the front four at the time. Got to bring pressure. I agree. With that, especially with a pocket passer. With mobile quarterbacks, that can cause even more issues. And so I don't know. I don't know. I think guys just got to make tackles for one. How many times do they have him third and long and they miss a tackle and then he's off to the races too? So, so part of it is that guys just not doing their jobs, not filling the right gap. But yeah, so Hate the black unis and white. Need the full 1990s, 80s throwback unis. Throwback unis. Yeah. Scott says, why do you think teams like Bama, Michigan, and Georgia struggle so much with vastly inferior teams? Well, Bama don't have a quarterback. Um, I don't know, man. With Georgia, I mean, Georgia, they're at the point where it's like they're probably bored. Um, I mean, I'm serious, man. I played on teams where when you just go, you just win so much, you just feel like you just show up and you can win. That's kind of how FSU was when they had their 29-game winning streak, man. 2014 team. They were vastly more talented, and they had won so much. It was like, we'll just show up and they'll lay down, or they have a terrible first half, and then it's like, okay, well, all right, we got to play now. And then, they would go out there and play well in the second half and win. But ultimately, they came up and cost those guys against Oregon there. So sometimes whenever you just win a lot, man, it's easy to just get complacent, not to put the work in that you normally do. And I'm not saying that's what FSU did. I mean, by all accounts, Mike Norvell said that they had a good week of practice. He's usually pretty candid about how practices go. So I don't know, man. I think some of it was a road game. It was, they didn't know if they were going to play. Was it going to be pouring rain? It's Boston College. They're heavy favorites, and I think a good bit of it may have been just underestimating Boston College's quarterback. To be honest with you, like I said, there's not a lot of game footage of him. And then if you haven't seen anyone that much and you get out there, it's almost like getting in a fight, right? You get in a fight and you're like, "Whoa!" And you haven't had a chance to watch any footage or whatever, so you don't know what their speed is, how strong they are, and then after that first round or so, you're like, "Ooh!" You're like, "I'm getting hit way more than I thought. They were way faster than I thought." And then you got to make an adjustment, and I felt FSU did. FSU made an adjustment for several punts in a row, started landing some haymakers, boom. And you expect Boston College, you knocked them down twice. You expect them to lay down that second time. And, you got careless, you got hit in your mouth, and then you're on the ropes. And before you know it, you're in a real fight with Boston College. And so, yeah, so I'm not gonna just overreact like a lot of people. Again, this game was real close to just being another blowout like FSU's done, thus far. So keep that in mind. This team is still really good. It's all about execution. It's all about the matchups. I've been saying it's all about the matchups, and I feel like FSU matches up pretty well with Clemson, especially if everybody's healthy. So keep that in mind. So I hope to have another video out. It'll probably be Monday. And we'll start kind of looking at Clemson, and I'm going to go back and look at this FAU game and look at some other stuff and try to get some stuff out there. But again, appreciate the support, man. If you haven't liked this for me, like it and share this. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Appreciate all the great questions. That was a quick hour, man. Wow, that went by really quick. But again, I feel like we'll play well next week. So take that with you as we sign off here. And again, appreciate you guys, and go Noles. Until next time.